All right, everybody, I think it's time to get started. Welcome to today's webinar, Workview and Application Creation Accelerator, or ACE for short. ACE is a simple tool that is used to enhance your Workview application creation experience. And I'm super excited to present this webinar, so let's just get right into it. My name is Nella, and I am a Customer Success Specialist on the Customer Success team here at Navient. And speaking of the team, we have our smiling faces here. You should recognize most of us, but we have had some new folks join us over the last few months. You may have already had an interaction with them, or you may sometime in the future, but now you can put a face to the name. All right, so for those of you who have never attended one of our webinars, I have some housekeeping items to review. If you have been here before, this is your reminder that the audience is muted, although be sure to use the chat box that's available to type comments and questions. Please complete the survey that's at the end of the webinar. I love reading your feedback and your ideas to consider for future webinars. And if you're curious about webinars that we've done in the past, you can check them out at navient.com/resources/video. All right, with that, let's talk through our agenda for today. First, we will talk about the Application Creation Accelerator, what it is, and how to utilize it. Then we will move on to discussing how ACE can enhance your Workview application creation experience. And then we'll finish it off with a demo of importing an ACE concept solution, as well as how to create your own ACE just from the beginning. All right, so I have a quick question for everybody. Who here is proficient in Excel? Maybe you use all of the capabilities within Excel. Maybe you've just used it to report data, or you've never even opened an Excel worksheet before. I doubt that's true, but I put it there just in case. You never know. I'll give you a few minutes to get those in. Got just about 85% of those votes in. All right, give it another 5 seconds, get those answers in for me. Awesome. Okay, nobody said that they've never opened an Excel worksheet before, so that is great news. So, as the name implies, Application Creation Accelerator uses Excel to assist with the Workview application building process by reducing some of those steps that are normally required. But don't worry, you don't need to be an expert at Excel to use it. ACE just eliminates the time and effort it takes to create each class, attribute, and relationships individually. ACE is not only a great tool for quick creations, but it can also serve as an aid for designing solutions and collaborating with others. So let's get right into it. ACE was first introduced in OnBase in version 18. OnBase Studio was given the ability to generate an ACE template that can be used to create a custom import file. When we generate the template, we are given an Excel workbook that we use to fill out the necessary information for our application. We'll cover these components next, but I just want to mention one more thing about ACE, and that is that it doesn't include functions such as logic configured within the application or personalization options within the views. ACE is really just meant to help build the backbone of your application. As I previously mentioned, it helps eliminate the time and effort it takes to create some of those basics of your application. So let's review the template and its components. So here's the ACE template Excel workbook that is generated from Studio. You can notice the tabs at the bottom of the Excel worksheet, and these are going to represent our classes. The example class is what we are currently viewing on this Excel worksheet. And the first column we have is the display name. These are the attributes that are a part of each class. Next over, we have the column to set the data type for these attributes. This is the automatically, if left blank, will be alphanumeric, but as you can see here, we have our integers and the currency and even our relationship labeled here. In column C, we have the option to relate the attribute to another class, and here you will specify the name of that related class that you want to associate the attribute to. This field will be required if that data type is configured as a relationship. The next column we have is the length/precision. Here you can set the maximum length for an attribute, or if you're configuring a decimal or a floating point, you can set the precision in this column. The description column is used for the description of the attribute. I would recommend utilizing this column just to ensure that anybody that is needed to assist in the creation or the development of the application can refer to the notes written here. And in the last column, we have the data sets. In this example, we can see that the state attribute is set to use the data set that is specified in this column. And I couldn't fit the whole Excel worksheet in the screenshot, so there are a few more columns to review. I kept the display names on the left column here so we can remember what the attribute examples were. So after the data set, we have the default value column. This column is optional, but it's available to specify the default value for the attribute. In this example, the salary is to be set to 0. The next column over is index to indicate which index type would you like to use when applicable. Options for values in this column are none, allow duplicates, or unique. If no value is specified here, it will default to none, but here we're using that unique index type. Next column over is the filter specifications. Here we can set which attribute we want to show up on each filter. If an attribute is required for more than one filter, they are separated by a comma in this column. Next over, we have the views, and it's the same concept as the filters. Each attribute that is wanted on the view will be placed in this column, and if this column is left blank, the attribute just won't appear on the view. The section columns refers to the sections within a view. An attribute can only be in one section per view. However, if the attribute is a part of multiple views, you can specify a section for each view using a comma-separated list. This would correspond with the comma-separated list of views. We'll review this more in our demo. And finally, the last column available is the primary attribute. In this example, we can see the ID attribute is the primary attribute for this class, and only one attribute can be set as the primary. This is set by entering the value true for the attribute. So after reviewing this Excel spreadsheet for ACE, I'm wondering if this maybe rang a bell for anybody before. So just select the best answer here. Maybe you've utilized ACE before, you're just here for a refresher. After going over that Excel worksheet, you maybe recognize seeing ACE, but you've never used it before. Or you have no bells ringing and you're just really excited to get to the demo so we can talk about what it is. Awesome, great job getting those answers into me, guys. Give it another 10 seconds. All right, thank you so much for those responses. All right, so we talked about how ACE can quickly create the necessary components for a WorkView application. And ACE can be very useful if you find yourself creating the same application over and over again for, say, different departments. But let's talk about other ways that ACE can provide additional assistance when creating your applications. So whether we're designing an application manually or utilizing ACE to create an application, designing the application and asking some big questions must happen before anything else. So things like, who will be using this application? When will they be needing to access it? How does the data link up? And as they say, there are no stupid questions, especially when designing and collaborating with others. It's super important to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And speaking of collaborating with others, when utilizing ACE, it can help direct those conversations and questions necessary for the creation, such as what classes and attributes are needed, and if any relationships exist between the data. As you continue to fill out the ACE template, everyone can begin to get a clear picture of the plan for this application. Before we hop into our demo, I want to present to you some resources that you may find helpful along your WorkView application journey. So first up is Highland Community. Here you can follow the WorkView group to become a part of the discussion surrounding implementation, design tips, enhancements. You can also follow the Application Builder community or the ABC group to learn more about building applications and utilizing the Application Creation Accelerator or ACE. Next up, we have Highland Training. This is where you can see a demo of WorkView in their training videos, or you can launch a hands-on lab. Both videos and labs walk through the steps of manually creating WorkView applications. And within Highland Training, you can also access intro to the training videos for ACE. Finally, we have Try Highland. Here you can find pre-configured concept solutions for WorkView applications that are available to download for on-base versions 18 or higher. And there's also a trio of ACE concept solutions available to download and review. The trio includes solutions for student advising, software assignment tracker, and base ACE configuration. So with that, let's start off the demo by showcasing one of these concept solutions. And I believe I chose the student advising one. So we will hop into our VM here. I have Studio launched, but I'm going to start on the desktop. So once you have gone to Try Highland and you have downloaded the ACE folder here, it comes in a zip folder. So you will want to extract all of that. And let's take a look at what's inside here. So it comes with a CSS example, a Excel ACE workbook here, and also the export package. So let's just take a look at what we have going on in our ACE template here. So we got all of our classes down here. We've got lots of classes. We're on the student class now, so we'll just take a look at this one for an example. We have our attributes here with their data types. These relationship attributes have their related class here. The length and precision is set. We have a data set for the year. We have the active attribute set to true as its default value, the unique index type, and then we have our filters, views, and sections listed here. So when we go into and import this, we want to make sure that we have all of these here. So we have two filters here, a find student and a student lookup. And then we have multiple views. We have a student info and courses, and then multiple sections within that view. So I'll X out of here. And like I said, there's going to be two options to import this concept solution. We can either use this export package or the ACE configuration right there. So if we wanted to use the export package, we can just use our classic import on our home ribbon. That would work just fine. If we wanted to use the ACE template, which is why we're all here, is to learn more about ACE, we would go to our WorkView tab, and all the way down at the end, we have our Application Creation Accelerator button/drop down. So the button is used for import, but if I was to use the little drop down, we can either choose to import or choose to generate, which we'll come back to later. So I'll just click my little button. We will browse out to my webinar folder with my ACE in there. I'm going to rename it. All right, we'll go next. All right, so here I won't have to extend any other class for this example. And at the bottom, we have these additional options to automatically create a filter or a view for each class. But since we had them specified in that Excel workbook, we can leave these checkboxes alone and go next. I'll give manager access and click next. Our little summary here. We'll click finish. Awesome. All right, so we'll go in here and we'll just take a look at what did it create, right? So we can see all of those classes. We had lots of classes on here. If we take a look at our student that we saw in the Excel workbook, we can navigate over there. And we should see our two filters, our lookup and find student, and we do. We should see two views, the student info and courses, and we do. So that is awesome. I will save this. And I want to hop into our Unity client to take a look at what we can see here. Reset the cache. All right, once Unity opens, I will go to File, Applications, and I don't see my application there. So what we do is we make sure that the reset cache server actually give it a few seconds because I might have rushed it. And we'll try that again. There it is. All right, so we go to File, Applications. We see our ACE concept solution here. With all of those classes, these are all of the filters that we were specified within each one of those classes. We only saw two of them since we were looking at the student class. So here, let's just create a student and just look at the view here. And we can see the details and the course of study. Those were the two of the three sections that were on the Excel worksheet. And our second view here for courses has that course info, which was our third section. So we can see everything that was on that Excel worksheet is viewable here within our application. So I really want to just scale this example down a bit since there was a lot of classes and a lot of attributes going on with that one. So let's generate our own template here. So let's go back up to our work view tab, navigate all the way down to our application creation accelerator and generate that ACE template. I'm going to put it in my webinar folder with the other one. All right, so this is what pops up once you generate your template. You have three classes already set here. You have a little notes section, and this example class is what we saw in our PowerPoint example. So we're only going to need two classes, so I'll just delete this one right off the gate. And for this example, we're going to be talking about vendor and vendor issues. So we will create two classes called vendor and issues. So let's start on the vendor tab. So for our display name, that is our attributes. So we'll make this quick and simple. We'll just add the vendor name, vendor, and email, and phone number. And I will just leave the data type blank here. If it's blank, they will be automatically alphanumeric, which is what we want. So that's perfect. For the related classes, there's no relationship data type here, so we'll leave that blank. Same thing here for the length and precision value, those aren't needed. The description, I'm gonna just leave blank for sake of time, but this is where you would add that description for each of these attributes. No data sets for this, these three, also no default value for any of them. If I leave this index row here blank, it defaults to none, which is fine. I want to do that. And then we get over to our filters. So here I want to type in our filter. So let's just do a vendor information will be our filter, and I want to see all three of these attributes in this filter. So I'll just not know how to use Excel for a minute. Okay, and we'll just copy that down to all three. All right, for the views, same thing here. All three of these attributes I want to be in a single view. So we'll make it the vendor view. And we'll copy that down to all three. And for the sections, let's say for this view, I want to have the vendor name in its own section. And I want the email and phone to be in a separate section, just so my users can see a good separation between them. All right, and then last column here, we have the primary attribute. I'm going to make the vendor name my attribute that's primary, so I'll type in true. All right, and that is all we need for the vendor class here. So we'll move on to the issues class next. So we will want to add some attributes to that. Start off with the issue number, the date, issue title, issue status, the vendor name, and a long description of the issue. All right. So for the data type, I know we will need to make this an integer. The date will obviously be a date type. And for the vendor name, I'm going to make this a relationship. Relationship. There we go. And for that related class for the vendor name, we are going to type in vendor. Wait. All right, like that. All right, so same thing on this class. We can leave these upcoming columns blank until we get to the filters. And for this, we'll just have one filter. We'll call it issues. And we'll copy it down. All right. Next over, we got the views. So let's say I want to split some of this information up. We can have two views. We'll have one called issues, and that will have the issue number and the date and also the issue title, and we'll have the vendor name. And then I want to create another one. So I'm going to have a comma separated list here. So for the issue title, I also want to add the issue title to another view called information, along with the vendor, issue status. We also want to include in the information. Same thing with the vendor name. We'll just comma, add that in. And for the long description, that will also be in the information view. All right, so now onto sections. Remember that only one section per view. So for these first two, there's only one view, so there's only going to be one section. So let's take a look at the view issue. So we have 4 attributes in the issue view. Let's just have a heading and a body just to kind of separate them and give a visual separation between the two. So we'll do heading for the first 2, and then we'll put body for the other 2. All right, and then we have our information view. So in this information view, I just want one big section with all 4 attributes, calling it details. So here we'll do a comma, details, details, need a comma, details, and same thing down here, we'll add details as a section. All right, and finally we have the primary attribute, which I will make the vendor name again. And that is about it. I will save this template and I'll leave it open because I do want to come back to it. And we'll come back into Studio and we'll go back up to our application creation accelerator. We could just use the little button to import the file. This one. I'll leave it as the ACE temp. We'll make it ACE issues template. All right, next. Same thing for this one. There is no classes that will be extending anywhere, and we already created our filters and views, so everything on this page can be left alone. I will click next, give my manager group access, click next, and finish. All right, just close that up since we're not looking at it anymore. And we have our issues template ACE application here. So let's open up the design class so we can see here our little relationship between the two, very scaled down, not as crazy as the concept solution. And so I want to point out here, remember on the vendor class, I left the length and the data type blank, and it automatically uses alphanumeric as well as the length, that 25 as the default of the alphanumeric data type. So thought that's pretty neat. Wanted to point that out, how it automatically does that. We can see our classes, and we know Studio, but I really want to see what it did in Unity. I want to go open up one of those views and see a comparison there. So we'll reset the cache, do it twice for good measure, give it a second or two. I know we're gonna need to look at this. So do that. Hopefully I gave it enough time. All right, so go to File, go to Applications, and we have our Issues template here. Let's just add a vendor object. So we can see here the vendor name and the information in its two sections we have there. I'm going to create an object just so we can have it when looking at the issues view. So go McDonald's. We're all hungry, right? It's time for lunch soon. All right, I'll just save and close. All right, and now the real fun part is the issues view that we created. So we'll pull up our Excel workbook here, and we have our issues view here. And so here we can see that we have the two views, the issue and the information views. For the issue view, we have that heading and body section. So we have the two attributes that we put in the heading and the two that are in the body. When we switch over to the information tab, we have the four attributes that we had listed in the Excel worksheet in the details section, which is applied to all four of those attributes as well. So that's why there's only one section here versus two sections here. So I hope seeing this side-by-side comparison of what you're typing in versus what you're getting is super helpful learning what data is really needed in this Excel template. So if I were to go in and want to fill out some information here in my vendor name, since I made it my relationship type, I should see my McDonald's. Yep, there it is. And I can just double click and it'll fill it out. And imagine if you had a long list of a bunch of vendors and you could just have all the information needed. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have. We really know how to use WorkView applications. So this was basically all there is to ACE. Just X out of there. We'll bring our presentation back up. So I really hope that, again, that helped visualize ACE and how to complete filling it out and all the results that you will get once completed. And that brings us to the end of the webinar. Today, we discussed the Application Creation Accelerator and how an Excel template can enhance your WorkView application creation experience. ACE quickly creates the backbone of a WorkView application, such as the classes, attributes, filters, views, much more. And this helps eliminate a lot of mundane steps involved in the application creation process. We also discussed how ACE can be a great tool when designing an application and collaborating with others about how the application should be used. All right, it is time for questions. We are a little short on time, but let me just take a quick look to see if there's any questions that have been asked. All right, here's one we got. Can an embedded filter be used in the view? Unfortunately, with personalization and with the views and you know, certain relationships and how you want your application to function logic-wise, those are all things that will need to be created manually after. But ACE is really the backbone of just creating the attributes, classes, and the structure of your application. So no, embedded filters can be used, just not within ACE. You can't set those within the ACE template, is what I'm saying. And then can ACE be used to add to / revise existing applications? I don't believe so. Let me do a little bit more digging and research on that question, but I don't believe so. I believe this is just for creating brand new applications from the ground up without having to do all of those mundane, simple right click, add a class, new this, new that, you can easily just type it in your Excel worksheet and import it, and it kind of creates the structure. And then you can go into your application and configure any logic or personalization to the views that would be needed for users. All right. That is all the questions that I see in my list here. So I will end this webinar off with a few ideas to consider on Highland Community. So Highland Community addresses ideas that are designed to suggest improvements for Highland products and solutions. When ideas are posted, other members can vote up on the idea, and once the points reach a threshold, the idea is considered by Highland for future enhancements. And I have a few ideas that are pretty related to what we talked about today, so I wanted to throw them out there. The first is adding an attribute name to the ACE template for cases where it doesn't match the display name. The second is creating a rule builder in WorkView, similar to custom actions in Unity Forms. And the third is to highlight rows in WorkView filters based on constraints like you would in reporting dashboards. So if any of these ideas sound interesting to you and you would like a link to vote up on them, please reach out to support@navient.com and we can provide that link to you. And that's all I've got for you today. I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us for this webinar. Again, please complete that survey. And if you have any questions, please reach out to support@navient.com. Everybody, and have a great rest of your week and a great weekend.